Democrats cry a lot over Trump being mean. Why is the media talking about the Proud Boys gearing up for the ACB showdown to come? And James Comey is the worst. Welcome, friends. Weeks away now, just mere weeks away, almost exactly a month to the day until the election. And my, oh my, I cannot believe that we are still talking about whether the American people are going to vote for Joe Biden over Donald Trump. But here we are. It's a crazy world we live in. And there are people who certainly fervently believe in to the core of their being that Donald Trump will ruin the republic. He's been president for 4 years and it's been pretty darn good, but he'll ruin the country if he gets 4 more years. That's what they think. And they've spent the last 24, 48 hours now doing everything they can to try to get some lift out of this debate. I don't think that it worked for them at all. But their narratives after the first exchange between Trump and Biden on stage tell you a lot about what they're trying to do here. Tells you a lot about what you're going to hear in the weeks ahead. So for one thing, Joe Biden, he's trying to tell everybody that he was the bigger man. He was the guy who was being a professional, real deal. In reality, Joe Biden called the actual president of the United States a clown, told him to shut up. So, and I'm not going to pretend like Trump was, being gentlemanly on that stage, but let's just understand that this is a fight, friends. We are in a dogfight. And the president is taking that approach. So is Biden. But now Biden turns around and says, he was mean. Play clip 3.
What do you have to say to those undecided, persuadable voters who were watching last night and were just completely turned off by politics?
I can understand it. It was, I kind of thought at one point, maybe I shouldn't say this, but the president of the United States conducting himself the way he did, I think it was just a national embarrassment. But look, I just hope that the American people and those undecided voters try to determine what each of us has as an answer for their concerns and allows us to actually speak. Yes, sir.
Notice that when he's not delivering canned lines, I mean, he was just a talking points machine in the debate against Trump. It's very obvious that he was. I could see, he's going into his jobs talking points. He's going into his. But the moment that you have to have a normal exchange with this guy, that's when you really see that it's kind of cloudy. There's a thing, and But when he's able to stand on stage and recite what the political consultants have told him to, he looks like a guy, well, he doesn't look like a guy who's about to fall asleep. Let's just be honest about that. But he does say things that I think are exactly what you would expect if you were to read the comment section of a MSNBC or CNN.com or something. You'd see just the usual stuff. Trump is terrible. He's a racist, the COVID pandemic, and nothing inspiring, nothing encouraging. But on this point about Trump being mean, because you're going to see a lot of this now, I have a very different take on this, including than a lot of conservatives out there. I have a different feeling about why is Trump being so mean, or why was he so rough with Biden? This is another line from Biden on this. Play 1.
It was hard for me to believe that a president of the United States would be so viciously classless and do what he did. I wasn't trying to look. We knew, and he announced, and his people announced to all of you major outlets that they were going to try to just attack my family and to get me angry. And all I kept thinking was, I wonder how many people had to take their kids away from the television set when this was going on, just to say, this is not who we are. This is not who we are as a nation. That's all I kept thinking.
It's not who we are. Okay, well, let's talk about who the Democrats, in fact, are. He says that Trump here is so viciously classless. And he was very aggressive on the debate stage, and I wish he had pulled back a little bit, not because I have a problem with him being aggressive with Joe Biden, but because I would have liked to hear Biden actually be forced to answer certain things. And, of course, Chris Wallace was running interference with him, and it was a disgrace. But, okay, classlessness. Being mean, being not a fair player in this political drama. That's what they allege against Trump. Let's remind ourselves, friends, that the left, the Democrat Party and the mainstream media, has for years said that Donald Trump is a traitor to his country based on a fabrication, a Russia collusion lie cooked up by the Hillary Clinton campaign, no less, paid for by Hillary Clinton donors, run through a foreigner using Russian subsources, spread Russian disinformation into the FBI and all across the media to have a coup against the President of the United States, to reverse the results of the election, or rather to undo what was done at the election. And let's also remember that the Democrats were not just planning to politically defeat Trump. They want to this day, and have done nothing but try to humiliate him, ruin him, and imprison him. They were trying to find criminal charges of any kind, and they would extend the law in ways that was obvious abuse if they had to throw Donald Trump in prison. They wanted to lock up his son, Donald Trump Jr. They wanted to send, again, not for doing anything. What Hillary Clinton did, because people always switch to this, what Hillary Clinton did with those emails, I would have had to, when I was a CIA officer, if I had done what Hillary did, I 100% would have been forced to take some kind of a plea deal for criminal action. Maybe I would have avoided substantial jail time, fine, but I would have had to take a criminal plea on the recklessness of 100 plus counts of classified information mishandled and part of my private server. And remember why she did it, too. That whole system was set up so that Hillary could evade FOIA, so that Hillary wouldn't have Clinton Foundation donors emailing her on her Secretary of State account saying, hey, I paid Bill $500,000. I expect a meeting, which is, of course, why people pay Bill $500,000 for a speech when his wife is the Secretary of State. Give me a break. But she really did break the law. They weren't trying to come up with some Logan Act violation or the Emoluments Clause or something. And Hillary actually is a criminal. Oh, no. Or you can believe that she's just so smart that she turned $1,000 into $100,000 trading cattle futures when she was in Arkansas because she read about it in the Wall Street Journal, which actually had zero coverage of cattle futures at that time. Or maybe it's because she had connections to the State Agriculture Board and who was actually running all. But Hillary Clinton's a criminal, folks. Okay, she's broken plenty of laws. We all know it. Her husband's should be a convicted felon for perjury under oath. We all know that too. But they wanted to lock up Donald Trump's children. They were trying to, the Democrats, this is open, you can find this online. They were trying to use state law in New York, use the district attorney's office here to bring some charge that Donald Trump, as president, would be unable to pardon them, right? He couldn't get them out of it. And they wanted to send Donald Trump Jr., Jared, probably even Ivanka, send him to prison. That's how they play the game. These people, the Democrats, could not be any dirtier in politics at this point. They could not be any more ruthless. They could not be any more underhanded. And they want to lecture Trump on being viciously classless. They have called the President of the United States a traitor, a rapist. They've said that he is not of sound mind, that he's actually insane. They call him now a white supremacist. They have called him the worst things you can be called in our country, with no evidence, with no justification other than orange man bad. They hate him, so whatever they say is justified. And now we're supposed to sit through lectures about decorum? Now we're supposed to pretend that the other side acts in good faith and plays fair. How dumb are we going to be? Look at what Trump has been through. A normal person, a regular person who was put through the kind of pressure he's been under, not just being the president. I'm talking about being a president for whom the opposition views the only remedy as ruination and prison. They haven't even been waiting until the election to try to beat him. It was never about that. It was trying to stop him from getting to re-election, meaning getting to the actual running of a re-election campaign, and throwing him in prison when he was no longer president. That was the plan all along. They have called the president a traitor, one of the worst things you could possibly be. They've never apologized for this evil smear. Not at all. And they just continue on with it. And they're going to lecture us about how the president deals with Joe Biden, a slimy fraud who says whatever he's got to say to get whatever he's got to get. Joe Biden stands for nothing other than the advancement of Joe Biden. And I really mean that. No, is President Trump a narcissist? Does he want the grandeur of the office? Yeah, absolutely. But Trump also stands for ideas. And I know people could say, oh, well, he's changed from what he was in the past. I don't care. He promotes those ideas with policies in office. He's a change from what was there before. And he'll continue to enact those changes if he has 4 more years in office. We've all seen what's really going on with this pandemic, which they use, of course, as a weapon against President Trump, pretending like the rest of the world hasn't had a terrible time with this as well. It's so unfair. It really is when you think about, just politically speaking, how they would have had an impossible uphill climb had it not been for the COVID-19 pandemic to convince people that Trump did do a great job. The first 3 years of the Trump presidency were fantastic. 3 of the best years I can remember in America. Relative peace, booming economy. Even the New York Times had to correct Joe Biden on saying that Trump inherited a booming economy. False. Some of us remember the Obama economy was the new normal of less than 2% GDP. The new normal of America's best days are behind it. Sorry, guys. Got to redistribute the wealth. It slows things down, makes everyone a little less well off, a little less hopeful. But hey, the slogan's hope and change. So what are you going to do? The media tried to convince us that America was no longer capable to try to cover for Obama's ineptitude. The guy doesn't understand economics. He doesn't understand how a business runs. Neither does Joe Biden. But to cover up for that and the socialism that was dragging us all down that Obama was instituting, they pretended like America was not capable anymore of above 2% GDP growth, that America was no longer capable of the real optimism that people feel like they have a shot, they have a chance going forward. If they do the right things and if they work hard, they will get ahead. We're not all going to be billionaires, but we can all have a better life if we do the right things. That's the American promise. That's the America we all want to live in. And Trump was delivering on that. And now here we are being told that he doesn't care about the COVID pandemic, that he's a racist, that he's a traitor with this Russia thing. These people are insane. Trump is arguing with a mouthpiece for vicious, sadistic lunacy with Joe Biden. That's what he's arguing with. We're supposed to ask him to play nice? Don't throw any hard punches? It's just words, folks, right? Their words, Trump's words. He can sit there and get abused. You know, he can be like a conservative on CNN. You're just there so they can throw food at you in the cage. That's what they do to people who are conservative at CNN. Or he can try to throw down, and he threw down. And yeah, does he sometimes miss the mark? Is he sometimes a little scattered? Absolutely. But how many of you would tell a buddy of yours who was in a bar fight, outnumbered 5-1, hey, you know, when you grab that stool, I don't know if you really had to go there. That guy only had a broken glass bottle, right? I mean, this is what, politically speaking, we're in the middle of. It is a street fight. And the other side plays as dirty as they possibly can. They want to lock up Trump's children, for heaven's sakes. And we're going to get complaints from the media because the corrupt disaster that is Hunter Biden came up in the debate. What do we really expect? How can we think Trump is going to beat this monstrosity of the Democrat socialist left if we're always telling him fight with one hand behind your back. If we're always telling him that's not, how William F. Buckley would have done it. Trump ain't Buckley. I don't know what else to say. He's doing it his way. Did we think that this fight was not going to get ugly? Just wait until you see what they say about ACB. It may not be able to stop her from becoming a Supreme Court justice, but they have no honor whatsoever. We are fighting a political opponent that has reached the heights of dishonor already, does not repudiate any of it, and wants to continue down that path. And people are abandoning Trump or angry with Trump, criticizing Trump because he was fighting fire with fire. Friends, we either understand what this fight really means and what the stakes are and what we have to do, or we don't. And we want the president to succeed in vanquishing this socialist left enemy once again, or we don't. It's a choice that we all get to make, along with our choice of who to vote for.
But it was maddening to watch the president last night, angry and small, unable to show a scintilla of respect, unable to follow even the most basic rules of human civility or decorum, unwilling to constrain a stream of obvious falsehoods and right-wing bile. Shakespeare summed up in Macbeth Trump's performance last night, a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Yes, President Trump's debate performance was, in the words of Macbeth, a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
Thanks for repeating that hackneyed line that we've all heard a million times, Chuck Schumer. Appreciate that, buddy. I'm just playing that for you so you have a reminder of that's who. Want to play nice? We can get lectures from Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, because if Trump loses, you're also going to see down ballot carnage, most likely. You want to have Chuck Schumer telling you what the future of the United States government's going to be looking like and what we're going to be doing? Chuck and Nancy, these are people that I have no respect for as people. Never mind their ideas. They're frauds. They are rich elites pretending to care about the poor and minorities because it advances them. That's it. All rooted in hypocrisy, all rooted in do as I tell you to do, not as I would ever do. But yeah, I wasn't expecting Shakespearean oratory from Donald Trump in the debate, but I was expecting someone like Chuck Schumer to reach all the way back to freshman year English or something to come up with a way of calling the president of the United States an idiot. Do you want a president who calls them idiots back? Or you want a president who pulls a Mitt Romney and curls up into a little ball and cries? Answer that for me. What does the COVID-19 pandemic have to do with you losing your home? Well, you see, the FBI has been telling everybody that cybercrime's up about 75% since the start of COVID-19, and home title theft is actually a cybercrime. Here's how it works. The bad guys find your home's title online. Then they use a quitclaim deed. They kick you off your title, and then they take out loans against your home's equity. So they get the cash, and you get stuck with the payments. You might not even find out about this until a foreclosure notice arrives in the mail. You have to take action now. Create a virtual barrier around your home's title with Home Title Lock. All you have to do is go to HomeTitleLock.com, use the promo code RADIO, and you'll get 30 free days of protection. Once you go to HomeTitleLock.com, you can also check to see if you're a victim of this crime and don't even know it yet. You put in your address, and it'll do a scan. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code RADIO, 30 free days of protection. Don't wait until it's too late. Create a virtual barrier around your home's title. Good heavens. Mika over at Morning Joe is just so upset over how terrible Trump is, and all of those awful people who like Trump play 20.
How could you watch that and want more of that if you're still thinking about who to vote for?
Well, and listen, there's an entire network that is covering this debate as if it was a proud moment for the president. And this situation has gone too far with a bunch of lobotomized hosts and anchors who are just waiting for his phone call. And it's pathetic. Here is the moment when you think about that. And if you think you want to debate that, here is the moment where the President of the United States refused to denounce white supremacist groups.
Oh, my gosh, we have to do this again. And, you know, I told you many months ago, they're going to recycle everything from 2016 as if we have not learned anything new, as if we have not already been through this, have not debunked some of their claims. We're going to go through all of it again. And we are, you see, Russia collusion, Russian interference in the election, Trump is a white supremacist. Oh, you're going to hear something about the 25th Amendment. Just give it a week or two. Right? You're going to hear something about Trump grab them by the P word. So, yeah, that's expected. But we should understand every time that we're now having to talk about this and play defense, we should say this is all a plan that they're executing on. None of this is accidental. None of this is meant to be. Oh, and Trump's taxes, of course, coming out right before the debate. Coordinated with the media, coordinated hit. Obviously, a coordinated hit. So now you have Mika saying that Trump refuses to denounce white supremacists. That's a lie. So does it matter that it's a lie? I'm just wondering. Does it matter to anybody? Trump has, you can find it. There's plenty. It's on the record. He denounced white supremacists at that press conference after Charlottesville. He has denounced white supremacists many times since then. He said, of course I will on stage. Just name them. But Trump's point, which anyone who's being honest can see, is why are we even talking about white supremacists? Biden voters, Biden base voters have been terrorizing this country for months like a bunch of little lunatics, have been running around lighting people's businesses on fire, looting stores, throwing rocks and bottles full of urine and bags of feces at police officers, shining lasers in their eyes to try to blind them, perhaps permanently. And yes, BLM supporting Democrats have murdered cops. And we're talking about white supremacists? Where are these white supremacists that they're... What are these white supremacist rallies? Where is this happening? Oh, we'll get into this some more. They bring up the Proud Boys. I believe the national head of the Proud Boys is a minority. And he is on video in other CNN interviews denouncing white supremacy, saying we absolutely denounce white supremacy. So the media, it seems, is, they're lying about this group. Not that I have any care or connection for this group. Honestly, I think that, unfortunately, they've played into the left's hands here by creating this opportunity for them to pretend like this. It's almost like one of these soccer support clubs in Europe where they all drink together and they'll get into some bar fights, and they don't like Antifa. That's from what I've seen. Again, it's a loosely affiliated. It is an organization. There is some loose affiliation, but isn't it fascinating? You have to spend all your time denouncing the Proud Boys, and Biden can get away with not saying a nasty word about Antifa. It's just an idea, guys. Just an idea. And they're actually a threat to you. What is more likely, America, that your business or your home is going to be mobbed, burned down, and perhaps you and your family violently attacked by the Proud Boys or Antifa? By the Proud Boys or BLM, Black Lives Matter? What's more likely? I know of not a single instance of the Proud Boys looting a store, burning down a building. And now, again, I'm not saying that their agenda, I don't even really know what their agenda is. I'm just saying, why are we talking about them? The whole national media has been fixated on this. And all the dumbest people in the media, of course, just repeat the talk. But Joy Behar, 14. Here you go.
Can I just say one thing? So, of course, he doesn't denounce white supremacy, Sonny, because he is a white supremacist. Americans have to decide whether they want a white supremacist in the White House. We've never had it before. Maybe we didn't know we had it, but we certainly know we have it now. Yeah. And that is the decision on November 3rd that must be made.
A white supremacist. How is he a white supremacist exactly? They never get to this. They say, well, he didn't denounce. He won't denounce. This is the game that they play. It's all so stupid and unseemly. This is the ultimate why, or when did you stop beating your wife question. And they ask you that 100 times, right? Imagine you're in a debate and the moderator kept saying, well, hold on a second. When did you stop beating your wife? You say, I've never beaten my wife, and that's a horrible question. 5 minutes later, can you tell everybody, for the record, can you denounce wife beating for us, please? Yeah, I denounce wife beating. But you see, it's all meant to be insinuation and attack. That's what it is. Denounce it. Trump has denounced it. Why are Republicans always being told they have to denounce white supremacy? Every election this comes up, denounce white supremacy. You're not going to be able to rent a home, get a job, or be safe in public if you're an actual white supremacist. But we're going to pretend that this is some big problem across the country? We're going to pretend like this is an ideology that has widespread support and that we have to be so worried about. But, the left believes in this fantasy. I mean, they're really out of their minds. They think that after months of cities being terrorized by Democrat Black Lives Matter supporters, that has been happening. That happened in my neighborhood. It wasn't the Proud Boys breaking windows, looting stores in my neighborhood, okay? I'm just living in reality here, folks. It was BLM. It was Antifa. And yet, we're told the real threat is the Proud Boys. And that the president hasn't done enough to denounce. I give credit, we had Hogan Gidley on the show earlier. By the way, it'll never be enough. He can never denounce them enough. They just want to keep, that becomes their evidence for the accusation, right? If you called somebody a child molester, right? If you made that allegation against somebody and you had no evidence for it, which would be a horrendous thing to do, but this is what the Democrats call media and politics. If you called someone a child molester, which is really the worst thing that there could possibly be, and you have no evidence for it, you could always just keep saying, well, that person hasn't, he hasn't denounced being a child molester enough. He hasn't denounced child molestation enough. Hasn't denounced it. And notice how that then, it dirties you up, right? You haven't denounced it enough? What the heck does it have to do with the person being accused, right? We haven't denounced it enough? It's all slime. It's smears. It's the trick of the propagandist. That's what they're doing with all of this. This is all they know how to do. They don't know how to be honest and truthful and brave and courageous and decent and kind. And the left-wing media, that's all laughable to them. They have no God other than the paychecks they receive from their corporate institutions and whatever opinion among left-wing Twitter is at any point in time. That's what really matters to them. Hogan Gidley, fortunately, is not going to just sit around and take this stuff. Here he is talking to Berman over at CNN, one of Zucker's many puppet anchors over there. Here he is on the history of Joe Biden when it comes to race. Play 2.
He said sure 3 times. He has done it in the past multiple times. I don't know how many ways you want him to say it and how many times you want him to say it. Do you have any idea, John, what an exalted cyclops of the KKK is? Because Joe Biden sure does. He spoke at a funeral for one and praised him profusely. Any idea who George Wallace is? Joe Biden sure does.
Yeah.
He thanked the person who gave him the award for George Wallace's name. Any idea what a racial jungle is? It's what Joe Biden doesn't want his kids to grow up in. Joe Biden's record on race is absolutely absolutely disgusting. Donald Trump was opening up his properties to African Americans and Jewish people while you were still in local television news, John.
You know, one thing, Hogan,
this president has a record of respect and understanding these groups like nobody else. I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and let you call the president of the United States a racist when he is the only one. He is the only one.
Joe Biden can defend his own record. He can defend his own relationships, and he did in the past.
Refuses to report.
Not true.
Notice what CNN does here. They know that, Berman knows he's getting steamrolled, so he engages in intentional crosstalk to muddy up the message. Wait, what? Hogan. The guy's talking. He's your guest. You're on TV. Shut up. But he knows otherwise he's going to get a call from Zucker's office. Hey, you can't let that Trump campaign press secretary roll you like that. Not on our air. This is Team Biden land, folks. It's Biden country over at CNN. We all know that. That couldn't be any more obvious. But Joe Biden's history with all these issues is quickly forgotten. His vice president basically called him a racist. I mean, maybe not quite a full-on racist, but like kind of some racist-y stuff. That was his vice president. And Democrats were all cheering for it at the time. But you see, when a Democrat calls another Democrat a racist, that's just all's fair in politics, right? They don't mean it. When they call a Republican a racist, it's your life should be ruined. Oh, they will absolutely find a way to call Amy Coney Barrett a racist. Amy Coney Barrett, mother of 7, including 2 adopted children from Haiti, a racist. It's going to happen. Get ready for that. These people have no shame. You have a lot of deeply narcissistic but wildly insecure people who work in the media that are supposed to be bringing the American people the truth and honesty and facts. And what they really do is promote, not just themselves, of course, but promote this left-wing belief system under the guise of objective journalism. And you'll see that in ways over the next few weeks that no matter how prepared for it you are, it'll still make you want to spew on your shoes. So just get ready for it. It's going to get ugly, folks. Trump is not going to be able to play this game delicately. This is not a 3-point contest. This is down in the paint, throwing elbows, and people might want to put on a mouthpiece. That's the political contest we are in between now and not just November 3rd, but whatever comes after it, because I don't think this election is going to be decided on November 3rd. I think we're going to go into a very dark period for the country of weeks of wrangling and fighting and lawsuits over all these ballots and all this, which Democrats have absolutely planned every step of the way. I want you all prepared for this. I don't want you surprised as this happens. I'm not always right, but on the big stuff, pretty much always right. Oh man, CNN, I swear, it's the worst media outlet in the country. Wall-to-wall white supremacy watch over at CNN. I mean, oh my gosh, this is what everyone's supposed to be terrified of, the what is 99.9% imaginary white supremacy threat that is out there. There are no white supremacy groups that are marching through the streets, attacking people. This is all crazy. Everyone hates white supremacists. No one likes white supremacists. What are they even talking about? Oh, my God. Oh, but CNN, here you go. They got another one of their little flacks doing the usual. Play 8 here.
It's kind of like Trump's very occasional condemnation of Russian election interference, done reluctantly, under duress, to compensate for constantly refusing to confront Vladimir Putin. For example, after his both sides comments, Trump did give a good speech in which he condemned racist groups. Afterwards, according to Bob Woodward, the president said, "That was the biggest mistake I've made and the worst speech I've ever given." Look, from the Trump family's apparent refusal to rent to black families in the 70s to Michael Cohen hearing him say of post-apartheid South Africa, Mandela the whole country up, to his defense of Confederate flags and monuments, it's easy to see an ugly pattern. Even noticed at DHS, where some are concerned that political rhetoric used by the president has been viewed by some violent white supremacists as a call to violent action.
I mean, they're dirtying the guy up. Well, what is it? The Trump family refusal in the 70s? Who refused, and what were the grounds, and what exactly? But note, you can't even keep up with all of this. What Joe Biden did in the 70s, come on, it was a long time ago. But this Trump allegation, it's interesting, isn't it? Throwing all this together. Oh, and Michael Cohen hearsay. There you go. Michael Cohen, the grossest, biggest liar imaginable. And it is to the president's discredit that he had him as his lawyer as long as he did. But, nobody's perfect. Oh, but Michael Cohen said the president said something about Mandela. And so now we're supposed to believe the president's a racist always and forever. I mean, it's, look at the stuff they point to. If he were such a racist, they wouldn't have to keep lying about what he said at Charlottesville. Now, yeah, I mean, the president's obviously frustrated with that because he, was imprecise. He truly was just imprecise in his language. He did clarify it during that speech, but they just seized on it. But the libs are so desperate while they're seizing all this authority and power with government, and they're engaging in the creation of a legal system of racial hierarchy in this country. You just had Gavin Newsom sign a bill in California, I think yesterday, that says that you have to have a minority on the board of a company that's based in California. Wait, that's the quota. This is illegal. I mean, the Supreme Court's going to shred this eventually, but it'll take a while. While that's all going on, we're supposed to believe that the president is a secret white supremacist. Also remember, if you listen to Joe Biden, according to Democrats, our entire system is racist and there's white supremacy all throughout it. Everything. The judicial system, law enforcement, schools, everything is white supremacist. So they're living in a world in which it is, by definition, impossible not to be surrounded by systems of white supremacy. And so what are we supposed to do exactly? Oh, well, we all know what the answer is, right? Just submit. Put the left in charge. Let them make all the decisions for you.